So when you hear the word Bible, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For most of us, it's a single, big book, right? But what if the original Greek words behind that one title tell a much more dynamic story? A story that actually starts with a plant, works its way through legal documents, and ends with a really important question about your name. Today, we're going to peel back the layers on 3 key Greek words to see what it really means for something to be written. All right, let's jump in. Here's the plan for our explainer today. We're going to start with the surprisingly humble beginnings of the word book. Then, we'll look at 2 different kinds of books the text talks about. After that, we'll dig into the powerful verb for writing. And finally, we'll tie it all together to look at the ultimate record, the book of life.
Okay, first things first. The word that gave us Bible, well, it didn't come from some grand holy vision. Its origins are actually in the very practical, everyday world of ancient trade.
This is just fascinating. The Greek word for book, Biblos, didn't originally mean book at all. It was the name of the papyrus plant. And how did the Greeks get a hold of this stuff to write on? Well, it was shipped out through a major Syrian port city called, you guessed it, Biblos. So the word for this sacred text started out as just a reference to the material it was written on and the city it came from.
From there, things evolved. The plural form, ta biblia, which means the books, got picked up by Latin. And then, over centuries, what everyone knew was a collection of different scrolls and books kind of got smoothed into the single word we use today, Bible. That little linguistic shift alone tells you a lot about how our perception of the text has changed.
So now let's look at that first key term, Biblos, and see how the source material unpacks its deeper meaning. This is where it goes from just a physical object to a powerful theological idea. Right at the very beginning of the New Testament, there it is. Matthew doesn't just say, here's the family tree. He says this is the Biblos of the generation. That immediately connects this kind of book to life, to birth, to a whole story of a lineage that's about to unfold. Now, according to the source's analysis, the grammar here is incredibly symbolic. The word biblos is a feminine noun. The word for generation, Genesis, is also feminine. The idea here is that this is no accident. It's meant to create this image of a book that is fundamentally life-giving, almost like a book that gives birth to a new spiritual reality inside the person who engages with it. Okay, so if Biblos is the big, foundational, life-giving book, what about its close cousin, Biblion? This adds a whole new layer to our understanding. So the key thing to get here is that Biblion is what's called a diminutive of Biblos. You can think of it as a smaller, more specific version. It's not the whole library, it's one particular scroll, one specific letter, or even a piece of legal paperwork.
And this chart just lays out the difference so clearly. On one side, you have Biblos, the epic story, the book of generations. On the other, you have Biblion, the specific document you can hold, like a bill of divorce, a deed, or a single prophetic scroll.
Here's a perfect example from Mark's Gospel. When Jesus is talking about divorce, the word used for the legal document is Biblion. It's a specific, functional piece of writing. It has a very concrete job to do. But don't think Biblion is always just for mundane stuff. In the book of Revelation, it's a Biblion, a specific scroll that holds the secrets of the future, locked up with 7 seals. This shows us that a single, specific document can carry immense, even cosmic importance. All right, so we've looked at the nouns, the kinds of books. Now let's switch gears and look at the verb, the action itself, the word grapho, which means to write. And this is just so powerful. The original meaning of grapho wasn't just about putting ink on a page. It meant to carve, to engrave, like you would into stone. That right there gives it this immediate sense of permanence, of authority. This isn't something you can just easily erase or change. When Jesus faces temptation in the desert, his entire defense is built on this one word. He doesn't give his own opinion, he doesn't argue, he appeals to a higher authority, declaring it is written, or gegraptai in the Greek. It means it stands written. It has been permanently engraved.
When he's tempted a second time, it's the exact same appeal. No new argument, just a statement of what has already been established.
And a third time, he grounds his answer in the absolute authority of the written word. This repetition drives home a crucial point. What is written, what is engraved, is the final unshakable authority.
So,
Let's pull all these threads together now. We've got the big, foundational, life-giving book, the Biblos. We've got the specific, documented record, the Biblion. And we have the permanent, authoritative act of writing, Grapho. Where's this all headed?
Well, what's really interesting is that the scriptures use both of our book words to talk about this one final, ultimate record. Sometimes it's the grand book of life, Biblos, and other times it's the specific scroll of life, Biblion. But either way, they both point to a single, definitive heavenly record.
And this is the question our whole word journey has been building up to. It brings all three of our concepts together. Who is it that has their name written, Grapho, in that final specific scroll, the Biblion of life?
The book of Revelation gives a pretty direct answer here. According to this text, getting into the holy city is exclusively for those whose names are found written in this specific book. And the text is just as direct about the stakes involved. The source material points to this verse to show that being recorded in this book is presented as a matter of eternal destiny. That act of being written down has the ultimate consequence.
So think about that journey. We went from a simple port city trading papyrus to a grand concept of a life-giving story, to a specific, tangible record, to the powerful act of carving something in stone, and it all culminates in this one final book that seems to determine everything. And that leaves us with one last thought, a more personal one. If all these words point to some kind of ultimate record, a story that's being written down, it kind of begs the question, doesn't it? What is the story being engraved about you? What's the narrative that defines your life?